The NBA has one of the most diverse sets of players of any professional sports league. It is a big reason why basketball has become such a global sport, as the backgrounds of many of the best players reflect those of people from across the world. American players, international players, guys straight out of high school, guys with college degrees, and everything in between, encompasses just some of the different backgrounds that NBA players emanate from. Over the course of history, we've seen hundreds of heartbreaking stories about young athletes that can't get out of their toxic environment, while others manage to be disciplined and lucky enough to actually make it and have a better life for them and those around them. And of course, the NBA isn't the exception to that rule, as at least half the players that are stars nowadays actually grew up in a very poor environment. And today, we'll let you know about 10 players that had a really tough time growing up before making it in the association. Let's move forward with our video and have a look at the top 10 players that have struggled to get into the NBA. So, let's begin. But before we proceed further, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, do hit the subscribe button so that you won't be missing out on any future NBA content. Number 10. Jimmy Butler. Before becoming the huge NBA star, Jimmy Butler had one of the most heartbreaking yet exciting life stories, as the Marquette product was abandoned by his father shortly after he was born in Tomball, Texas, back in 1989. Nevertheless, young Jimmy managed to stay on course and focus on sports, mainly as a football player, as he was a passionate football fan just like every other Texas kid since the first day of history. However, things weren't going quite so well for a young Jimmy Butler, as his own mother kicked him out of the house at the tender age of 13, making him bounce from one couch to another, and spending some nights in the gym to try to avoid the streets, being homeless as a mere teenager. Then, just after the start of his junior year, another athlete from his high school challenged him to a three-point shootout, and instantly hit it off with Jimmy, inviting him to stay at his place as much as he needed to get back on his feet. So, after that loving family took Jimmy under their wing, the guard/forward was able to take his game to another level, with the tranquility of a home, as well as improving his school life, and even his relationship with his peers. Butler winds up attending Marquette University, and even recently got his college degree, while also being a standout athlete and a growing NBA star, proving that hard work and discipline really pay off. Number 9. DWade. Wade was born in 1982, in the notoriously tough south side of Chicago. When he was 4 months old, his parents separated, which sent his mother into a tailspin. She started dealing and doing drugs, including cocaine and heroin. Wade said that his mom would often get high in front of him and his siblings, and that there were often needles laying around the house. When Wade was 6, cops busted down his house with guns drawn, and his mother would eventually go to jail for crack cocaine possession with intent to sell. While most kids would spend time after school playing sports, Wade was visiting his mom in prison and talking to her through a telephone. Wade's older sister eventually steered the family in the right direction, and Wade turned to sports to avoid the temptations that his mother fell victim to. Even while Wade was becoming a basketball star at Marquette, his mother was still behind bars, and she didn't get clean until Wade joined the NBA in 2003. Wade's kids will have nothing like the childhood that he experienced, as he's made over $176 million in his career, which is the 16th most in NBA history. Number 8. Larry Bird. French Lick, Indiana is known as the hometown of Larry Bird, and for being one of the poorest cities in the country. Nearly 20% of the population lives below the poverty line, and Bird said that growing up poor still motivates him to this day. Bird's mother worked 2 jobs to support the family, and when he was in high school, his parents divorced. Bird's father, a Korean War veteran, committed suicide a year later. Bird used basketball as an escape, both literally and figuratively, as it kept his mind off of his family situation, and it eventually allowed him to attend college at Indiana University. After going to IU for 1 month, he then dropped out as a small-town kid wasn't used to the big city. He eventually joined Indiana State University, which kickstarted his basketball career and led him to the NBA and the Boston Celtics. Number 7. Serge Ibaka. Before becoming the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year and one of the most dominant rim protectors of the early 2010s, the young Serge Ibaka grew up in Brazzaville, one of the worst and most dangerous cities of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Growing up amid gunshots, smuggling, drug dealers, civil war, and who knows what else, the African power forward was keen to get his family the hell out of there, working really hard on school and playing basketball to make his way into Spain and eventually the NBA. Number 6. Allen Iverson. With his mom being just 15 years old when she gave birth to him, his father on a life sentence, and his stepfather being a crack dealer, Iverson had one of the roughest childhoods you could expect, spending a lot of time in friends' houses due to the lack of food or guidance before being practically adopted by one of his trainers, on his way to becoming one of the most talented football and basketball players in the nation. Still, some false accusations about him taking part in a brawl in a bowling alley forced Iverson to spend some time in jail, before becoming the first overall pick and one of the most dominant and talented players this game has seen. Keep yourself tuned in as we discover 5 more players with a rough start. Hope you guys are enjoying the video, and if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, do it now in order to make sure that you don't miss out on any future NBA content from now on. Number 5. Derrick Rose. Just like Wade, Derrick Rose had a very rough childhood growing up in the low neighborhoods of Chicago, spending his whole life without a father figure, with his mother having the tough task of taking him away from the dangerous Englewood streets. His 3 older brothers were also quite tough on him to make him a disciplined young fella, before becoming the league's youngest MVP several seasons ago, and earning a huge paycheck at the end of every month. Number 4. Carmelo Anthony. Before becoming Team USA's historic leading scorer and one of the most prolific small forwards in the history of the game, Carmelo Anthony had to live with 8 people in a 2-room bedroom in the Brooklyn projects, dreaming of becoming Bernard King and wear the Knicks jersey. Sadly, his dream of becoming a Knick hasn't been as grateful as he expected it to be, but considering he's getting a lot of cash instead of having to deal with Brooklyn and Baltimore rough streets, he should be more than pleased with how his life turned out, thanks to his beautiful game. Number 3. Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Greek Freak was born to Nigerian parents in Athens, Greece. But his parents were so poor that they never filed any papers regarding Giannis or 3 of his 4 siblings. No papers from Greece, no papers from Nigeria. The Antetokounmpo kids were essentially without a country, and even though Giannis was a burgeoning basketball star, he couldn't play for a national team without identification. All the while, Giannis' family struggled to put food on the table, and one of the reasons he was/is so thin is because he often had to skip meals. Giannis was finally granted Greek citizenship 1 month before being selected in the 2013 NBA draft. The Bucks' investment in him paid off, and in 2016, Giannis put his past financial woes behind him as he signed a $100 million contract at the age of 21. Number 2. Kevin Durant. The reigning NBA Finals MVP also had it quite difficult in the early going, as his father was involved in a lot of drug problems in the streets of Washington and eventually abandoned him, his 3 brothers, and his mother. Durant had to constantly be moving from one lousy place to another, as his mother struggled to put food on the table and pay the bills. But she was always extremely supportive with Kevin and his desire to play basketball, stating that his height was a blessing and he shouldn't let bullies make fun of him because of it. Number 1. LeBron James. Before being one of the league's best players throughout history, the young LeBron James had a really tough time growing up in Akron, Ohio. With his father abandoning him, his mother just being 16 years old, nobody would ever expect this poor kid to become one of the world's most influential and dominant athletes. His mother really struggled to find a steady job and was constantly being involved in toxic relationships with drunks and junkies. LeBron was finally able to escape that horrid reality when one of his mom's boyfriends gave him a basketball and completely turned his life around. These players might have gone through some horrifying childhoods, but the place where they stood after stepping into the NBA must have made it all worth it for them. So, which one of these players have inspired you the most? Let us know your answers in the comments section down below. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Thumbs up if you liked it, and do hit that subscribe button so that you won't be missing out on any interesting videos from now on.